Products are not the start point. Products are the end point. And if anything, they're the end point. Two women can have the exact same skin type and leave my consultation with completely different product recommendations. Let me explain to you why. Have you ever wondered why someone else's holy grail makeup products just don't seem to work for you? And maybe you guys even have the same skin type, you have the same concept of what you want to do, but it just doesn't work. It's probably because you skipped the most important part of the process. The reason why their makeup doesn't look like yours and why your makeup seems to not meet you where you really want to be. Before I ever recommend a product, I always work through 4 things: purpose, person, plan, and then product. I like to call this the 4P beauty framework. I'm gonna give me something to drink and then we're gonna get right in. This is so good. We got us a little flavored water. I hope you got you something to drink too. Let's talk. So the 4P beauty framework. Let's start with purpose. Purpose is when you ask yourself the questions: why am I wearing makeup? Why am I wearing makeup? Where am I going? And what is it that I want to communicate? If you've watched any video that I've ever put out, one of the main things I ask, one of the main things I think about when I'm thinking about the purpose behind the makeup is, what is it that you want to communicate? When I'm asking the question of what you want to communicate, it's not just thinking about your vibe or your style, but it's thinking about what the attributes are that you want someone to feel or see when they see you. And so asking the question of why you're wearing it and what you want to communicate, it's going to determine the style, and it's going to determine things like how much effort you need to put in. But the thing is, when you really consider what you want to communicate, if it's coming from a place of intense insecurity, there's not going to be a lot that we can do with that. And I'm not saying that to be in a consultation, you have to be completely secure, because we all have our insecurities. It's more so, I know that it wouldn't be wise for me to tell you to put on loads of makeup because you want to communicate pretty and you don't feel like you are. There has to be a level of confidence mixed in there for us to figure out what we want to say on top of that. So if I want to communicate that I'm polished, it can't be, I want to communicate that I'm polished, so I want my skin to be lighter. No, it can't be, I want to communicate that I'm professional, so I want my nose to be smaller. That's not what I'm in the business to do. I'm in the business to help you look at your own self and figure out how we elevate what you already have. Elevating does not mean making it less ethnic. It doesn't mean making it less of you. It means to take you and figure out what elevated looks like for you. So some of these things could also be more practical, like your reasoning for it is work or church or photos or dates or speaking events, because these are all going to be different looks also. And so when you're working with me, I'm going to try to help you develop what those looks are for those different events. It's not going to be the same thing all the time. Your look can change depending on the weather. Your look can change depending on the time of day, depending on what you're doing. So all of those things play into how you develop and strategize what your purpose is. Purpose sets the direction. It's kind of like the very beginning of the arrow. If we know where it's being positioned, it's easier to figure out what's next. So purpose will set the direction. And once I know purpose, I can start actually thinking about the personhood. That's when you're going to start to be able to consider lifestyle, your personality, your makeup experience. That's when you'll start to look at how much time you have, what's the budget. All of those things are the practical things you consider. And then because of those things being thought of, now you can take that and combine that with the purpose, and then that makes for easier product recommendations. But before we even get there, there's one more thing. If you really enjoy glam, or you really love a 10-minute routine because you don't want to spend all day doing your makeup, or you really want to look super, super natural, or maybe you like something that leans like covert goth or something. Maybe you don't enjoy makeup at all, and this is just something that you feel like you have to do for the season of your life that you're in. Whatever it is, these are all things that actually align with your personhood. And when that's considered and developed, it's easier to actually build a strategy. We're building a routine. We're building a routine around a person, not just a face. It matters how you actually feel and what your lifestyle can actually maintain. And a lot of times, the reason why you're choosing the wrong product is because you're considering your face, or what you think you want to communicate, or what you saw an influencer do, or what you think that this brand should communicate, which is what you want to communicate. So now you use this brand. you're considering those things rather than considering what's actually right for you based off of your personhood. If you like a 10-minute routine, you may need a simpler foundation. If you want a more full coverage look, you may need to stop buying the most simple products that don't actually have full coverage or don't actually have the type of coverage that you want. If you're trying to cover up tattoos, you need a fuller coverage foundation. Like, these are things that are considered when you think about the lifestyle or the personhood that you're considering. After this, you finally have enough information to build a strategy. The plan is when you really start to get into if you want certain things, like how you want things to finish, what colors do you like on you. These are things that may be discussed in the person part, but in the plan, we're actually creating a strategy. We're actually creating a plan. So this is where you'll start to consider and decide on coverage, finish, placement, colors, the ease of use, the routine itself, actually developing that. And then this is when you'll consider things like, do you want something that's soft or do you want something that's bold? And a lot of times, again, this may have already been somewhat expressed in the personhood or in the purpose perspective, but at that point, it's a lot more philosophical. It's a lot more, what is it that you want to give off? What do you want to communicate, you know? But by the time that you get to the plan, we already know that stuff. So now we're just strategizing and actually putting all those ducks in a row. This is where we'll also maybe talk about if you want something minimal or a full routine and what the in between is for that, or what the decisions could be that allow you to decide if you want something minimal or full. These are all of the things that now we're actually deciding and stamping into place. This is still very much a strategy and not necessarily product. So we're still discussing the concepts and the strategy, but we're not necessarily discussing which products yet. And if you notice, we are not talking about products yet because it's so easy now to think about products when you have discovered you want something satin because you like something that looks really natural. You want something matte because your skin is oily and you need something that's going to last all day. That makes a lot more sense than just going in without any sort of thought or any sort of idea of what you want to communicate. Only after I've built a plan do I start to think about products. Products, finally. Products support the plan. This is when you start getting into luxury or drugstore, how expensive it's going to be. It doesn't have to be, but it might be, right? It depends on you. But these are all things now that we already know because you've already asked those questions. The product itself is not the goal. The look you want to achieve is the goal. Products are tools that bring the strategy to life. When you're considering products, it's really easy to go into a website or discuss with a beauty consultant, or even just look at your own products you already have and decide what actually works for your lifestyle based off of your personhood and your plan. These are all things that now you already have on paper to figure out what you actually want to do. This is why two women with the same skin type can leave with completely different recommendations. Their purpose may be different, their lifestyle may be different, their preferences are probably different, budget may be different, so naturally their makeup should be different too. This is exactly what beauty consulting is. Products are not the start point, products are the end point, and if anything, they're the end point. Every single recommendation should be intentional. And this is what sets beauty consultants apart from some of these other people like influencers or even some of the beauty advisors in stores and makeup stores. If you ever wonder why certain makeup recommendations worked for someone else but didn't work for you, this may be the reason why. Let me know in the comments which part of this framework makes the most sense for you. And if there are any other beauty consulting topics you'd like me to break down, I'd love to hear them. If you haven't heard of it yet, I recently released a digital guide that helps you to dive into topics like this and also figure out what your beauty philosophy is. This helps you to decide on how you actually want to go about your beauty and how to be intentional and decisive with your beauty. The digital guide is called Beauty on Purpose. You can get it in my bio. I hope you subscribe and I will see you in our next video.